Thank you so much for joining us this morning at this early hour. We're going to be introducing a new product this morning called LinkedIn Today. It's a social news product for professionals that we're very excited about. We're also going to be taking you through some of our recent launches that we believe are excellent examples of how we deliver value for our membership. And before I turn it over to Deep Nishar, who's our head of product, and he's going to be walking you through some of these products and services and introducing you to the teams behind them, I just wanted to start and briefly talk a little bit about what LinkedIn is about at a high level and our objectives in terms of creating value for our membership. So to kick it off, LinkedIn is about connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. One of the key words there is professionals. That is our sole and exclusive focus. That's what we do. We focus on creating value for professionals, making them more productive and more successful. We currently have north of 90 million members around the world, and we're growing at a rate of faster than 1 member per second. Over half of the membership is now comprised of international countries and territories, and that's the fastest growing part of the network. So it's truly a global platform at LinkedIn. So how are we going to make this possible? How are we going to connect the world's professionals? Well, it's really about connecting talent with opportunity at massive scale. Okay? So just to hone in on a few key words there. Talent. At LinkedIn, we believe that probably the single most important driver of long-term value creation at companies is talent. It's the ability to recruit, to develop, to retain the world's best people. And we see this time and time again with the world's greatest companies, a relentless focus on cultivating great talent. With regard to opportunity, I think oftentimes when people hear opportunity and talent in the same sentence, in the same context, they immediately think jobs. Finding jobs, filling jobs. And while that's absolutely core to what we're doing, there's so much more than that when it comes to creating opportunities for people. Opportunities that will fundamentally change the trajectory of the careers of our membership. That's what we're trying to do. And I'll give you a brief anecdote. So last week I had the opportunity to attend TED very briefly, just for a couple of days. And someone approached me when they found out I worked at LinkedIn, and they said, "Thank you." And I said, "Oh, that's nice of you to say. For what?" We hadn't met before. And he said, "I am essentially here because of LinkedIn. I'm a TED fellow." So he had all of his expenses paid to attend the TED event. And by virtue of his background, his experiences, he made that possible because of the relationships, the references, and the recommendations he cultivated on LinkedIn. And for him, attending an event like that, where he could draw from the inspiration of others, connect with other young, emerging innovators and professionals around the world, it was a difference maker. And you think about the opportunities that this guy will create down the road and the way he'll be able to create opportunities for others. And that's what we do. That's what we mean when we talk about creating opportunities. The fundamental difference, though, here, when it comes to connecting talent with opportunity, is massive scale. We're not the first company that's tried to connect talent with opportunity, but in our opinion, we're the first company to do this at massive scale. Why? Two themes that are emerging and converging. The first is that we now have social networking infrastructure that can support the connections between hundreds of millions of people around the world in milliseconds. That's never been possible before at scale. But perhaps more importantly are the behavioral changes taking place as a result of this infrastructure's existence. At unprecedented levels, we're seeing people sharing their identity with others, building and maintaining networks of their friends, their families, and in LinkedIn's case, their most valuable business contacts and colleagues, and sharing information, knowledge, ideas, and insights with one another at, once again, unprecedented levels. And subsequently, as a result of these behavioral changes, as a result of this new scalable infrastructure, the world is fundamentally changing before our eyes. The way people live, the way they play, the way they learn, and the way they work. And it's that last component, transforming the way people work, that's what LinkedIn is all about. And doing that by transforming the career trajectory of our membership. So how do we make that possible? It's really two halves of a whole. We want to be in a position to provide people the tools to manage their careers, to find their dream jobs. And then once they're in the perfect job, once they're in a job they love, making them more successful in that role. Two halves of a whole. And that's really what sets us apart. As a result of these dynamics, for the first time, you have people updating their profiles when they're not looking for work. Think about that. Taking the time to share with others your experiences, your skills, your aspirations when you're not looking for a job. Why? Because of the opportunities that accrue to you as a result of completing your profile, as a result of building your network, connecting with others, sharing information, not just when you're looking for a job, when you want to take your career to the next level. So three objectives. We have three objectives here when it comes to deeply creating value for our membership. And I wanted to walk you through those, and those are really at heart what today's products and services are about, as Deep and the team will introduce to you shortly. So the first objective, we want to be the professional profile of record. We want to be the way that people find and can be found within a professional context. So think about this. When you're sharing your professional identity on LinkedIn, at times you'll be able to apply for a job at the click of a button or update hundreds of connections within your network without lifting a finger, simply by their updating their profiles. You'll be able to eliminate the cold call. It should all be about warm prospecting by virtue of tapping the people you're connecting to through that shared identity. The second objective is to be the essential source of professional insights. I mentioned a moment ago that we're seeing truly unprecedented levels of sharing taking place. Information, knowledge, data, insights, ideas, opinions, which in theory is wonderful until you have this never-ending torrent or stream of content on your homepage. And it's truly information overload. So LinkedIn is very focused on leveraging our unique assets to make that stream of content as valuable and as relevant as possible. And we do that by virtue of our context, focused exclusively on professionals. We do that by virtue of your relationships and your network, our professional graph. And we do that by virtue of the unique data and information flowing through our system. And so later today, you're going to be seeing some new products that deliver on this promise to create more relevancy, to create more value, to extract the signal from the noise, or what we like to say is extracting the signal from the stream. The last objective is to work wherever our members work. We live in a day and age where it's no longer okay to expect people to be tethered to their desktops. So whether it's through your favorite mobile device or a tablet, we're increasingly developing product to not do those things after the fact, but developing mobile as we develop for the web as well. And we're going to show you a great example of that later today. And beyond physical devices, when it comes to working wherever our members work, we no longer want people to just extract value from LinkedIn.com. So we're investing very heavily in an open API platform and program so we can push out our assets to third-party developers and publishers who can take advantage of these unique tools to deliver value to our members on third-party websites and through third-party applications. So those are the three ways, the three objectives we're deeply focused on when it comes to creating value for our membership. And today is going to be all about the products and services that we've launched recently and a new product we're very excited to be launching today that I think best exemplify how we're creating value for our membership. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Deep Nishar, our head of product, who's going to walk you through these products and services and the team behind them. So thank you and enjoy today.
Jeff ended on a note that is very important to people like me and to actually, honestly, the rest of LinkedIn, which is how do you truly create value for LinkedIn members? And it's not just enough for us to say we build X, Y, and Z, and that creates value for our users. You know that you've created value for someone when they have that aha moment, when they're interacting with your offering and they have this light bulb go on top of their heads which says, ah, I get it. I see the value that I'm getting. I'm experiencing that value. And if I look back to when I experienced that aha moment with LinkedIn, I'd have to go back about 2.5 years. So it was probably late 2008. My daughter, who was 12 at that time, had finagled her way and convinced her mom and me that she wanted to apply to this program that was a residential program run by Johns Hopkins over the summer. And in the beginning, we were like, yeah, Devanshi, you want to do it, you can go ahead and do it, because we didn't give it too much thought. As she applied and she was selected after a fairly tough process, she's like, okay, I'm ready to go. And that's when it sort of hit us as parents that a 12-year-old girl going to go live by herself on a college campus in summer, what does that mean to us? And so like, any parent of the 21st century, I went to my favorite search engine and I decided to, research this program a bit. And, I got some information. I got some very interesting tidbit. One of the first hits in my favorite search engine, through no coincidence, said that Larry Page had attended that program when he was a middle schooler or a high schooler. That's good. I could see maybe there's some correlation with the program and greatness later on in life, and I felt pretty good about it. Unfortunately, a few links down, it also said that Lady Gaga had gone to that program. And then now all of a sudden I started seeing, the piano in our home being broken apart because some theatrics that she may pick up over the summer, and that didn't start looking very good. The unfortunate part was I could only get factual information. And when it was such an important decision for us, just factual information was not going to be enough. So what did I do? And remember, this was 2008. This was the pre-social media frenzy days. I turned to social media platforms, right? Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. And I just posted something very simple on all three. I said, researching the CTY program at Johns Hopkins. And I started getting responses on the two platforms other than LinkedIn. I got things like, oh, way to go, dude, good job, Devanshi, etc., but no real information. On LinkedIn, and at that time I was surprised to see it, I actually got a handful of responses. One came from Shishir Mehrotra, who is now the head of monetization at YouTube. And he wrote back saying, hey, I went to that program. This is what it's all about. By the way, after she's done 2 years in this program, she should consider this program. This is what we do, etc., etc. I was shocked, actually. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't know Shishir had gone to that program. And we kind of knew each other working in the same company, but didn't really know each other that well. Then I get another note from Nimit Maru, who's since then gone on to start a fairly successful company in the Valley called Bloomspot and is now at Wharton. And he wrote to me about his experiences, and I got a few more responses like that. And all of a sudden, it hit me. When we make important life decisions, when we have to truly, when the rubber hits the road, we don't just rely on searching. We don't just rely on facts that may be out there that we don't know how they've been colored. We actually rely on the power of people that we trust. Okay? So the aha moment for me was, if you peel back everything, as an engineer, I can apply all sorts of correlations, and one network was bigger than other, and this probability and that probability. But at my heart, I'm a product guy. I like to peel back the onion and really understand what was the essence of that experience that really resonated and that brought me that value. And if I peel it back, it came down to two things. It came down to identity, and it came down to insights. So what do I mean by that? The identity portion was, it's not just about me and what my profile says or any individual on LinkedIn. It is the collective power of how we are all interconnected with each other. And our identity is bigger than ourselves. The whole is a lot bigger than some of the parts. And the insight in this case was very simple. They were actually very willing to give me a very synthesized version of their experiences, their understanding, their knowledge about this program that enabled me to make a very informed and a very good decision. So if we take the identity and insights part of our experience, how can we now extrapolate that and bring that to the more than 90 million members that we have around the world? And that's the critical part, and that's really the key underpinnings of how we build products here at LinkedIn. And those are the kinds of things that our team's been thinking through over the last 2 years. So let's take identity for a second. Identity in the Web 1.0 era was that. Right? It was my business card. And the business card, you would scribble on back of it, unless you were in Japan, which you would never scribble on back of anyone's business cards there. You would write down a few things. So I met Deep at this conference. He works at LinkedIn. He happens to be the head of products there, etc. And that was the extent of someone's professional identity. In the era of LinkedIn, we've changed that. We've made that much bigger. You now have an ability to manage, to create and manage this profile, this identity on the web for yourself. And it gives you things that go well beyond what would show up on a regular profile, right? It would show things like the fact that I'm interested in entrepreneurship and I mentor and advise a bunch of companies in the Valley. It will show you that, in my heyday as an engineer, I've invented a bunch of things. It will also show you that I speak, 5 or more languages. All that is great, but can we take it one step further? What about the power of the network that comes along with it? So when I look at my identity on LinkedIn, it is more than just the things that I've accomplished and the things that I've done. It has things like, who are the people who are looking for me? What are the search terms they are using when they look for me on LinkedIn? Where is my network? What is the distribution of that network? I've had the opportunity to work in different parts of the world. Is all of my network lit up appropriately? If I want to go conduct business tomorrow in Northern Europe, who do I know there who can help facilitate that? Tomorrow, if you're thinking about market entry in some Asian country, who are the folks there that I can draw on from my past? This is that power of identity, which is much bigger than me and what I have done alone. It is bringing that power of the network back to us. How does this network then bring us the insights that we think about? A really good visual that we were talking about the other day is that of the can I hear you, can you hear me now commercial. The guy who's sitting here and who has a bunch of people behind him. And the bunch of people behind him represent the network that enables the bits to go through on the mobile devices. Think of it similarly in terms of your professional network. What are the kinds of things, the various bits of information that are parsing through this vast network, and how are we able to bring them together? How are we able to synthesize them in order to create the key insights that enable us to be better in our professional life? So, I decided to try that out very recently. So, I gave you a very simple example of the insights I derived from my network that gave me my aha moment with LinkedIn. 3 weeks ago, as all of you I'm sure know, Nokia announced its new mobile strategy. And I've been involved in mobile since about 2005, having had the opportunity to start Google's mobile business at that time. That was obviously the BI era, the before iPhone, and after 2007 we got into the AI era, which is the after iPhone era. And at that time, little known secret, there were apps even before the iPhone. They just came in unglamorous names called J2ME, and nobody really cared about them at that point. But we built them, and a lot of people use them. So I've been very interested in this space. I have a bunch of folks in my network who are also involved in mobile. So I wanted to find out from them what they thought of Nokia's new strategy to go with Microsoft and Windows 7. And the results were actually very fascinating. In a period of about 2.5 weeks, the poll that I ran on LinkedIn got over 3,000 responses from people on just about every continent out there, people who had very informed views and opinions. And if crowdsourcing were to be true, the overwhelming majority of these folks believe that actually Nokia's strategy is flawed, that they should have either gone with Android or, it doesn't matter what they do, they've sort of missed the boat on the situation. Now, time will tell us if this crowdsourced answer and insight is correct or not, but I play a lot of truck on this because not only did they vote on a poll, they actually, over 150 of them put in very detailed comments. I can actually go in and read specifically what's going on. Can you imagine the power of what this does to anything that we could be doing? Our VP of People Operations could be running a poll amongst everybody out there, all the HR professionals, figuring out what are the benefits that people care about the most right now. We don't have to depend on some third-party studies. Who knows what methodology they have? We have an ability to reach out to our networks, gain those insights, and bring them to ourselves. And that is really the key of how we leverage the power of our networks. So you have identity and insights. And the third key tenet that Jeff talked about also is that in today's day and world, you have to be everywhere where your members work, where your users are. I'm a big platform guy. I already told you about my passion for mobile. And while people carry, every professional carries this device or something like this in their pockets, they want the ability to get the power of their identity and their insights everywhere they are. And they want to be able to do it in a channel agnostic fashion, whether they're in front of their computers, whether they're using their mobile device, whether they are on LinkedIn.com or they are off LinkedIn.com. So some examples of what we've done there are, the bottom you see that framing. This is something we did with Fortune and CNN when they did CNN Money, when they did the best places to work. We were able to actually integrate the power of LinkedIn's information onto their site and bring you in a very personalized way as a user, tell you as you clicked on different companies, who are the people you knew there. So you could start having a dialogue around that article that you were reading. That's one example of bringing the power of LinkedIn to our users wherever they work. So that, in a nutshell, are really the three key things that we care about as we roll out our products. So let me tell you a little bit about the products that you're going to see today. The first set we are going to talk about is think about it as the identity set. And identity not in terms of the individual and the profiles and what you see of them, but it's actually really bringing the power of the network and the power of what we understand of that individual when we start looking at their data and the data of the network from a very unique lens. So the first product you'll see that Ali is going to talk to you about is InMaps. The best way to describe InMaps is that it brings science and art together in a very stunning visualization of what your network could look like. But it's not just a pretty picture. It's an ability for you to take a lens at your myriad, fairly large networks and be able to derive the key insights that enable you to be better at what you do on a daily basis. And you'll see that shortly. The second one that Pete Skomarok, one of our data engineers, is going to show you is an idea that he conceived about a year ago. And he said, we have lots of different entities on LinkedIn. Individuals is one entity, but the function that they work in, the industry they work in, the geography, the kinds of skills they have are also interesting entities. What happens when you slice the data, you pivot it around one of these entities, and you put a lens through it? What kind of interesting insights can you derive from it about the individual that can then enable them to realize their potential? And that's what the skills and expertise product is that they're going to see. So let's start with Ali and InMaps.
I'm Ali Imam, I'm a data scientist here, and I really just want to walk you through InMaps, which is a visual way of looking at your professional network. We talk a lot about networks and social graphs, but very rarely do we ever see what a social graph looks like. We all know that connections are really important. Who you know becomes really important in your professional career. So what we did is find out everybody you know and see how they know each other. And using that, we actually can glean some interesting groups out of this. And it actually pulls some interesting insight. The other thing to know is because no two careers are the same, no two InMaps are the same. They are like snowflakes. And it's because of the connections that you've nurtured and the career choices that you've actually made. But right now, I want to take you a little deeper into my network, just to show you some of the insights that you see. So for me, I have a big network over here that's my Carnegie Mellon alumni. Then I have Yahoo over here, which I worked previously, and then LinkedIn. Let's zoom into my Yahoo network here. Everyone here is from Yahoo. I know that. But there's that dark red cluster over there, which is my Yahoo Analytics team. And what's interesting about that is that I never told anybody, I never told LinkedIn, they never labeled me on LinkedIn as being working directly with me. Yet because we connected more densely to each other than the rest of Yahoo, we were able to pull and tease out that information just through the connections. Another thing you'll actually notice here is all the dots are of different sizes. That actually means something in this. That's an influence score. So when we click on Micah here, you'll be able to see a little more information about him. But not only that, you'll see who else he's connected to. And you can see he has a lot of influence in my Yahoo and my LinkedIn connections. He's actually a bridge. He connects both of those and knows a lot of opportunities that could be happening. That's definitely someone I want to keep having coffee with just to make sure I keep in touch with my network. But as we do that, let's look at my whole network again. My Carnegie Mellon network is completely disconnected from my Yahoo and LinkedIn. That makes me the bridge. I am now the influencer in my own network where I can pass along opportunities between these groups and realize that two people should really know each other, so I should introduce them because they're working on a similar project or know similar skills. Another thing that you can glean while looking at this is that there could be holes in your network. It might not be what you want. For me, I actually was looking through it this morning and realized I'm not properly representing my data and Hadoop communities. So I need to actually go back to LinkedIn, make sure I connect those to transform my network. And you'll actually see that change in the InMap. And you got to remember that your professional career evolves and changes over time. And as that, your InMap will actually change to reflect all of these. Now, sorry, I actually have everybody's InMap here printed, which we'll get in the breakout rooms. But for everybody online, please go to inmaps.linkedinlabs.com and get your own, start getting some insights out of that. And with that, I actually want to introduce Pete and Micah to introduce skills. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pete Skomrock, data scientist and product manager at LinkedIn, and this is Mike Alpern, who you saw in the in-graph, Mr. Connector. He's a principal designer, and we work together to build LinkedIn skills, which is what we'll be showing you next. I want to step back for a second and hit on a point that was mentioned a couple times, which is professional identity. And when I came to LinkedIn, there was this great data infrastructure set up, a large data team building great products already. If you look at the LinkedIn profile, you can see that we have companies, schools that people worked at, past experiences they shared, their network. There's lots of deep, rich data. One piece that I thought was really important and wanted to focus on was skills. So when I think of professional identity, I often think of what skills people have. So what we did was we took that data infrastructure and the over 90 million member profiles on LinkedIn, and we processed those profiles and extracted tens of thousands of skills across hundreds of industries. For each of those skills, we form a graph, much like what Ali showed you with the in-graphs. And for that graph, we can do a kind of people rank and surface who are the key influencers and individuals within that community. Once you have that knowledge, once you have that core data, you can build that lens that Deep mentioned on that particular topic or skill. And you can create a web page for each of those skills. So one of the key technologies used to build this was Hadoop. And if you saw IBM Watson beat Ken Jennings in Jeopardy, that was one of the key technologies used to build Watson. Similarly, that's something we use to build skills. If you wanted to find out more about that, you can go to LinkedIn Skills. You can go to your homepage in the upper right, and you can actually search for Hadoop as well. And it will take you to the Hadoop page on LinkedIn. And what are we surfacing here? So this tells you a little bit about Hadoop. There's a description extracted from Wikipedia. And if you already know Hadoop, there's a one-click add button. You can add it to your profile from here. On the left rail, we're surfacing related skills that people who know Hadoop also list on their profile. And one of the core elements here are the Hadoop professionals. So people who know Hadoop, this is a tight community, and some of the key individuals within that community are surfaced at the top. And this is all automatically derived from the LinkedIn network. So who's at the top here? This is Tom White, an engineer at Cloudera. He actually wrote the book on Hadoop. The next guy, Doug Cutting, was the original author of Hadoop, he worked at Yahoo, and now he's at Cloudera. And the list goes on of professionals. And if you log in, you can see how you're connected to these people. So on the upper right, we have some more useful insights about this skill. We're showing that it's the 32nd fastest growing skill on LinkedIn right now. So this is a hot technology, but it turns out there's a couple of other technologies slightly hotter that are related to Hadoop. So HBase and Solar apparently are hotter. You can click on the size tab and see how many members are listing this on their profile. Scrolling down, some of those companies I mentioned are surfaced. So who's using Hadoop? We're up there, Yahoo, Cloudera, and a number of other companies that you can also follow and get relevant updates about employees who are using this technology. Scrolling down, if you're a job seeker, you can imagine how this might be useful. You want to see if a skill's hot. You want to see if there are relevant job postings on LinkedIn. You can see, am I in the right location, or should I expand my search outside of my city? Another key part of your professional life now is networking, right? So we have surface relevant groups that you might want to join and have some of those discussions that Deep mentioned. You may want to ask questions about the technology. Should I be learning this? Should I be learning Android versus iPhone? Things like that. So this is a deep dive into one skill page, but the really interesting thing is you can start navigating around by clicking on related skills or searching in the search box, and you'll get a sense of the diversity of the member base. LinkedIn is more than about just tech or business. And when we built this, we were pretty amazed by some of the communities on LinkedIn. We have everything from ballet with ballet dancers and choreographers and ballet companies, to bodybuilding with professional bodybuilders and people who own gyms. It's really, really fantastic stuff. And everything from green technology to weapons of mass destruction. And if you're looking for weapons of mass destruction, this is the place to go. And if you look at the people, it's pretty interesting. So Barack Obama, I just want to call it, is at the top, which is interesting. But if you dig into it, this was a key issue that he worked on in the Senate before he was president. And some of the other companies, you know, FBI, Defense Threat Reduction Agency. This is some pretty rich, deep stuff, right? And I made a joke there about this is where you want to look, but I think it gets back to the theme about finding and being found, which is what this is really all about. So we're surfacing key individuals and key experts and giving you this information that you need. And a key part of what we do here is leveraging all this data, leveraging the network, and giving it back to users. So as part of that, what we're doing, this is a beta product we released a few weeks ago for logged in members. We're actually opening that up to the public. And so now you can be indexed by search engines and found anywhere on the web through these pages. So with that, here's Deep.
Thanks, guys. I think it went by a little bit too fast, but I don't know if you noticed that ballet is actually a decreasing scale, as in it's not growing as much, and hip-hop has taken over. So I took a mental note to stop my ballet lessons and switch over my credits to hip-hop classes now. You know, that was great, and I hope that it gave you a flavor of the power of data that's infused within our networks. The next section, we're going to talk about two products that relate to insights. You know, we live in an age where we have an abundance of data, but a paucity of knowledge and insights. We see a lot, but it's very difficult for the human brain to parse everything, to synthesize it, and to really grab the nuggets of wisdom that are embedded in that stream. And what we are doing with the next two products, Signal and you know, the one that you're going to see here for the first time and before everybody else does is LinkedIn Today, is we are taking what's going on in the stream and putting the unique lens of your network, your industry, and the broader professional network that's interested in that kind of information and bringing it to you. Signal is a hack day project that we did, and you know, every 4 weeks a bunch of folks at LinkedIn get together and we spend a whole day hacking together different ideas and different things that we have in our mind, and we dedicate a whole day to it. And usually it's not just that Friday we work on, it spills through our weekends. Signal was an approach that came up from one of the engineers who said, how, you know, people talk about real time all the time, and our network updates are real time. We get, you know, millions of these every week. What can we do in order to derive some really key insights from that network? And that's how, you know, that was the genesis of Signal. And then Today came, you know, saying one step further. Why make people do that work? How can we create a product that brings you the most relevant insights of what's happening around you that's relevant to you in your professional career that particular day? So you can spend 5 minutes in the morning and be more informed and better equipped than anybody else, okay, if you have that edge. And that was really the key theme behind why we came up with LinkedIn Today. So we're going to have Esteban first come and talk about Signal, and Liz and team talk about LinkedIn Today.
Thank you, Deep, for the introduction. My name is Esteban Kozak. I'm the product manager for LinkedIn Signal and the LinkedIn homepage. And I have here with me Sean Dawson. He's the lead engineer for LinkedIn Signal. So Deep alluded to the vast amount of data that is generated in the system by our own users. We are seeing about north of 1 million updates being generated by LinkedIn users on a daily basis, right? What you see here on the homepage is just a small fraction of that data, which are the updates from your connections. Now, what LinkedIn Signal does, it gives you the chance to have access to those million of updates generated by all the members, you know, at LinkedIn. How do you get to it? You simply click on that search updates box on the LinkedIn homepage, and you go for your favorite topic. In this case, iPad 2 is a hot topic. I know a lot of you guys covered this story about a week ago. And what you're seeing right here is a real-time stream of all the LinkedIn members talking about that topic, over 60,000 pieces of data here that is basically shown to you in real time. Now, what sets this product apart from anything else that you may find out there is the ability now to get to the set of data, those insights that matter to you with the click of a mouse. What we're doing right here is we're layering that professional identity on top of that data. So you can now narrow down that set of thousands of updates by network, company, industry, time, location, school, topics. This is something that you cannot do anywhere else. So let's just run for a couple examples. Let's start with something very simple. Imagine that I actually I'm interested in buying one of these devices. Well, I will start off by clicking on first connections there to actually see what my network is saying about this device, right? I can even expand to my second degree connections to get more results. And here's when you see a bit of that professional identity at work. I can mouse over someone that is second degree, like let's say Eric here, and I can actually see who he is. And once I know what he's saying about this device, I can actually simply connect if I want to stay in touch with that individual, add him to my network. Now, I think that the next one is going to actually, you're going to love the next example. Again, I know you guys covered the iPad 2 story. Wouldn't that be really cool at the time you were actually putting that story together to know what the competition, in this case, what Google employees were saying about iPad 2? Now it's possible. You can do that. You have the topic, you enter Google in the company section, and what you're seeing right there are what Google employees are saying about iPad 2, right? So that gives you that inside, edge on data that otherwise you wouldn't had the chance to access to. Now, another big news that happened the last 2 weeks was the acquisition of Huffington Post by AOL. And again, as you're putting that story together, wouldn't it be really cool to be able to assess the sentiment inside Huffington Post about the acquisition? So what we do is we search for AOL, the topic, we look at what Huffington Post employees are saying, and just to showcase the richness of the data and how accurate that is. Paul here, the guy that we just saw there, he's a CTO of Huffington Post, and he's talking about, hey, we're happy about launching the first feature together with AOL. And down below, you actually get to see even Eric. Eric is the CEO of Huffington Post, and he's actually very happy, if you look at the message, at the update there, that they actually finally closed that deal, right? So this is actually data that, again, impossible to actually assess, anywhere else except by, getting to it through LinkedIn Signal. Now, one last example I think is pretty cool, and this is something that we didn't predict. When we built this product, we didn't know how people will use it, and one of the things that we saw is that people were using this to find jobs. It turns out that a lot of the members, LinkedIn members, are posting, are updating their network saying, listen, I'm hiring. I'm looking for people for this area. So if you type hiring there, you can see there's over 50,000 in the last 2 weeks, 50,000 updates. People really asking or putting their jobs out there. So now, using again the power of professional identity on the left side, imagine that I want to get a job in marketing and advertising, and imagine that I want my next job to be in New York, right? So I select those two, and what I'm seeing here are all the jobs that people are offering that meet that criteria. Now the key thing here is that not only I get to see what the jobs are about, I know who is posting those jobs. I see the faces, the names, who they are. So now, not only I can actually get interested in the job, I can actually reach that person and pursue a connection or contact that person through LinkedIn if I really want to pursue that opportunity, right? One thing that I didn't mention was, the right rail, right? For any search you want to do, for any topic you're interested in, you get to see what are the top articles that people are sharing, right? So Charlie Sheen continues to make the top of the list for anything, including hiring. Looks like he's hiring for an intern right there. And the interesting thing here is you click on that number of people that share that article, you get to see who did it, right? So we flip that around and we tell you, these are the people that shared, this is what they're saying about that article, and you can find any of your articles and check it and see what people are saying about your own pieces out there. And you can even refine, right? So, you know, I'm from Argentina, so, you know, I would like to know if Charlie Sheen has, you know, that type of reach, and he gets there, and it looks like it does. 3 people from Argentina actually talking about Charlie Sheen hiring for an intro, which is pretty spectacular, but thanks God I don't know any of these guys there. Just finally, just want to close by, you know, really making a point about insights and how now LinkedIn becomes your you know, business intelligence dashboard, right? As you have access to what over 90 million professionals around the world are up to, and you have the power to hone in into the insights that matter to you by, as I show you just in a couple of examples, by simply, you know, one click away by clicking on that left rail. So I want to now, so if you go back to homepage, I want to make sure that we close it by saying that, you know, every user now has access to this product simply by entering their topic, what they care about on that search box in homepage. So next, I'm going to introduce here Liz Walker, who is going to be unveiling a very cool new product called LinkedIn Today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Walker. I'm a product manager on our sharing and content products, and I'm so excited to unveil to you our latest product that we're launching today called LinkedIn Today. This is a product that is a professional news product, and it delivers the top stories you need to know to be informed on what's happening in your industry and from your network. And so I have a couple people up here with me, Jesse Ventusenque and Frank Yu, and we're going to take you through some of the key elements of the product and why we're so excited about a product that's powered by LinkedIn to deliver you the news. So what you're looking at right now is the front page of LinkedIn Today. And this is tailored to you based on what your connections are sharing and what's being shared by the industries you're interested in. So this product is driven by what professionals are sharing, and we think there's something really powerful about that signal of when somebody finds something that's interesting enough to share with their network, and we are delivering the top stories based on kind of what the collective group of members are sharing. So when you look at a story, we're highlighting how many people have liked it or commented on it or shared it. And what's really cool is when you click on this, as you saw in Esteban's presentation, we show you exactly who's sharing the story and what the conversation is going on about that story. So you can drill down to see how maybe how the conversation is different between different parts of the country. So maybe I want to see what people in Boston are saying versus what people in New York are saying about the top venture-backed companies. Or maybe I want to see what my connections at LinkedIn are saying, so my coworkers. And here I get a sense for kind of the top people who've shared this. And actually, Frank commented on it. Frank Yu, who's up here, and he's one of my trusted connections. Maybe we want to have a conversation about this story. And right now I probably just turn to Frank and we can talk about it. But say this is somebody I haven't talked to in a long time, somebody I kind of want to reach out to. I can go to Frank's profile and see what he's been up to lately, and also start a conversation with him about the news. And we think this element to see the real people sharing stories with their professional's identity attached is something LinkedIn can uniquely deliver, because we understand your professional graph and we can show you what your connections are sharing. So that brings me back to LinkedIn Today, which we actually are putting 3 social lenses on the news that we don't think have ever been brought together in one place. So the first one I just walked you through is what the people you know are sharing. So within every story you see on the page, we call out the people you know with their photos, so you can kind of get a sense of who you know in your first and second degree that's read a story. That's the first lens. The second lens is your greater industry. So me, I work in the internet industry. Say I want to get a sense for what people are reading today, what matters, what are people paying attention to. So from the internet industry tab, here's a collection of the top 10 stories being shared by the 5 million professionals around the world who work in the internet industry. And the way we're getting this data, it's not driven by an editor, but it's driven by what people whose profiles say they work in internet are sharing. So again, it's this really unique view that it's actually the people who work in this industry that we think delivers kind of the things that you should be paying attention to, the top 10 stories here. And then the third lens we give you is kind of a larger professional context on the news. So because we know what people are sharing across the whole professional graph, we can also call out when a story is trending in other industries. So here I'm looking at the top news in the internet industry, but I can see that this story is also trending in marketing and advertising. So it helps me connect the dots on who's paying attention to a story. Maybe I'm going into a meeting later today with somebody on our marketing team. Great to keep this in mind, that we're both paying attention to the same thing. So this idea of news across multiple industries is another thing that we're really excited about bringing to our users with LinkedIn today, because as we talk to them, we hear that people don't work just in one industry anymore. You know, you kind of need to be paying attention to multiple things to really be great at your job. So a great example of that is maybe you guys, right? You work in the newspaper industry or online media, but you cover technology and maybe you cover something else. Another great example is a salesperson at LinkedIn who works in the internet industry. They sell a product to recruiters who work in the healthcare industry. So to stay up to speed on 3 industries, they probably need to read 3 to 5 sources across all of those industries to really be informed. That probably takes 20 or 30 minutes. But with LinkedIn today, they can follow those 3 industries and then come to one place and in 5 minutes get the same kind of the top stories that they need to be paying attention to all in one place. And so for people who are short on time, we think this is a fantastic product because it really helps you efficiently get a sense of what matters. We also let you save any story. So maybe you find a great headline and you don't have time to read it right now. You can save it and then come back to it later. One of the other things we're really excited about is the ability for LinkedIn today to help you get up to speed on an industry. So a good example is a couple of friends of mine have recently joined nonprofit boards. And so kind of in their free time, they're trying to get up to speed on what they should know about to really be an effective advisor to the nonprofits they work in. Well, by going to the nonprofit industry page, you can of course see the news kind of on the left-hand side, but we also highlight things like the top sources in that industry. So here are the things that people who work in the nonprofit industry are paying attention to. And maybe I'm not paying attention to one of these, but maybe I should be because other people are. So say for example, philanthropy.com, and that's not something I've heard of before. I can click through and see the top shared stories on LinkedIn from philanthropy.com to see if it's something that maybe I should be paying attention to or I want to keep on my radar. If it is, I could follow this source, and that would add it to my LinkedIn Today homepage and also add it in the navigation. So one other element of kind of helping users get up to speed on an industry, besides the news, is the center column on this product, which is all about delivering kind of the content people are paying attention to. That's maybe not breaking today, but that's interesting. And here we're partnering with StumbleUpon, because we think they do a fantastic job of kind of delivering that serendipitous content, that interesting kind of things maybe you haven't seen, but you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then as you scroll down, we're also showing you in the novel and noteworthy section things people who work in this industry are sharing that are more like videos or photos or maybe a comic from The Onion or something. So this idea of LinkedIn news sliced by industry is something we're launching to 22 industries today. But we actually think this is just the beginning because we can start to cut news by things like title. So what are CEOs reading? Or maybe by function. So what are salespeople reading? And then even combining some of these slices. So what are healthcare professionals in India reading? And we think that lens on the news can deliver really relevant content to users and also help them save time because they can come here and get the top stories in those kind of industries or topics that they care about. So as we were researching news and trying to figure out what our members really wanted from the news, one of the things we heard over and over again was people aren't tethered to a desk all day. Often they're reading the news on their iPhone while they're waiting for a cup of coffee, or maybe it's while they're waiting for a meeting to start, they're checking in with the news. And that's why today we're also launching LinkedIn News as part of our iPhone app. So starting today, if you go and download the latest version of our app, news is a core part of it. And so I'll walk you through some of the features in the news app. Like the website, kind of the core of this is the top stories you need to read. So here are the top headlines across an industry, the industries that I'm following. And if you click into one of these stories, we give you a little bit of a summary about the story. We also give you kind of the LinkedIn secret sauce of what your network's saying and what other industries are paying attention to this. And then we let you save it for later. So we think this is pretty interesting because for professionals who are on the go, if you find a story on your phone, maybe you want to save it later when you have a larger screen or a little bit more time to read it, and that syncs with the web. So anything saved on your phone syncs when you get back to LinkedIn today on the web. You can also share a story. So we think, we hope users discover more and more interesting content through LinkedIn today. You can share it with your network. You can share it with a specific professional, or you can share it on Twitter. And we think that this ability to kind of find interesting content and then share it again is something we want to get more of our users doing to kind of help drive this product and help them also kind of showcase what they're reading to their network. So one of the unique things about the iPhone app that's not on the web is this one-click view into what your connections are sharing. So for busy people who are on the go, we think this view of what the people you know are reading about is a really great way to see kind of the most relevant, most up to the stories you should know, because this is what who you know is reading. So you have the Shared by Your Connections tab, and then finally the following tab, like on the website, lets you curate the news that you want to see based on what you're interested in. So starting right now, you can get the latest iPhone app in the App Store. We are also rolling out linkedin.com/today to all of our members, so anyone who goes to that page will be able to experience the product. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be ramping up entry points to this from the LinkedIn homepage. So you'll start to see that as part of your kind of core LinkedIn experience. And again, this is kind of just the beginning, but thank you all for coming, and excited to get to tell you about the news first and about the latest product, and looking forward to talking to you a little bit more in the breakout sessions. So I'll turn it back over to Deep and then talk to you soon.
So I don't know about you guys, and I have the advantage of having had the ability to play with this product on both the web and my mobile device over the last several weeks. And I can't tell you the last time I was this excited about something coming out in general, let alone specifically something that I was a part of. I literally start my day every day for 5 to 10 minutes, quickly going through the news on my iPhone app using LinkedIn Today. An interesting tidbit, 3 days ago, I saw, when I was looking at what my connections had shared, I saw something from Doug Edwards. Some of you may know him. He was, one of the earliest, he was actually the first marketing employee, I believe, at Google, and he is in the process of writing a book, and he was sharing some cameo videos of early LinkedIn employees, including Salar Kamangar, who's now the CEO of YouTube, as well as I believe Larry Page was in one of the other videos, and he had shared it with his connections. And that's not something I was going to go find in any of the esteemed publications that people here represent. That was something special. It brought back very fond memories of some of the early days I'd spent there many years ago. And that's the kind of serendipity, that's the kind of insight that a product like LinkedIn Today brings to us that honestly is very unique and you cannot find anywhere else on the web. I want to close by reflecting a bit on the last 2 years at LinkedIn and how our product strategy has formed. Jeff and I met for the first time in late November or early December of 2008. And it was at a Starbucks. It's fascinating that they are celebrating their 40th anniversary today with a new logo and $40 gift cards. But it was at a Starbucks in Palo Alto. And we met one late afternoon, and neither one of us had started at LinkedIn yet. And we were, bringing our sort of collective experiences from Google and Yahoo together and riffing about what LinkedIn, the platform, could be. We are both very, strong supporters of platform plays and openness. And one of the ideas that we riffed on that afternoon, as our coffee was left untouched, and we kept talking and talking about these things, was how we can create something called Bizpedia. And what we are using as a shorthand called Bizpedia at that time was literally this platform where the users, their networks could contribute a whole bunch of things, and from it you could create insights that was so tailored to every individual that it would create a completely different and unique experience for the user base. And I'm really glad to have gone through this journey over the last couple of years with the team, where we have now created a platform that enables our users to really create and manage their identity on the web, to really derive those pearls of wisdom and the insights from the professional network, and literally be able to take it everywhere they are and wherever they work. And it's really been a fascinating journey, and what you're going to see in terms of the products that come out from LinkedIn over the next coming months and next coming years are all going to fit within this rubric of how do we enable our professionals to be more productive and successful wherever they work. Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to talking to you more.